First things first, I need you all to turn on your mobile phones. Most presentations you're always told to turn off your mobile phones, but you need to turn them on. Because there's going to be an SMS vote, which will be an audience poll of which creative is best out of the creatives which I'm about to show you. Oh, not that one. Sorry. Right, so my name's Dave. I'm from Adalyzer. Adalyzer is a software company that helps media agencies and advertisers measure the performance of their TV advertising. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to create a SMS poll, and what that will do is you'll get your phone out, you'll send an SMS, and I'll show you 3 creatives that we've used recently to monitor the performance of those creatives and how they work. So today what I really want to talk to you about is creative optimization of broadcast TV. Now when you think about advanced TV and a lot of the things that we talk about, it's focused very much on things that sit traditionally outside of what we would call broadcast TV. So it's the new innovations, it's things like Sky Ad Smart, VOD, broadcast VOD, all of the stuff that's with the new TV. Now, when we look at broadcast TV, what's important is that we try to take some of those ideas behind advanced TV and apply them to the broadcast stream. Because when we look at the level of budget that's delivered in broadcast TV, it's still a significant amount. And in reality, that isn't going to change anytime soon. So what I wanted to try to do is when we look at how we look at this type of broadcast TV is to take some of the ideas that we have in advanced TV and apply them. And as it happens, when you look under the covers of some of the infrastructure and software solutions that are already in place, there are a lot of opportunities and a lot of things in place that we can build upon and implement to take some of the concepts that would traditionally be applied to advanced TV and apply them to broadcast TV. Now, whenever I've been to quite a few of these sort of presentations, and whenever I'm at these presentations, we hear lots of concepts around data and machine learning and programmatic and these complex solutions which are making decisions on behalf of us in order to work out whether our campaign has been optimized or not. And whenever I'm sat in your place in the audience and I'm looking at the presenter, I'm always slightly skeptical about whether the decisions that are being made are accurate. So when I was asked by IMD to come and present today, I thought, I bet a lot of those people in the audience are going to be looking at me, and because I'm going to be talking about optimizing creatives on broadcast TV, they're going to have exactly the same thoughts that I had. In other words, how do I understand whether the decisions that are being made by the algorithms are correct? So in order to test that, we decided to set up a little poll. So what we will do is we will show you the creatives that are being shown today in a live campaign, and you will then be asked to vote on which creatives you think are best, and then we'll compare the votes that you've made to the decisions that Adalyzer made, and we'll see if it's the same. I'll come on to that. It's the best performance in terms of creating the most responses on the advertiser's website. So to set the scene, World Wildlife Fund currently have 3 creatives running on TV. Each of those creatives shows a different animal, and each of these animals are endangered. And we were tasked by Carol, who were running the campaign, to analyse the data to identify which creative generated the most response. And when I say the most response, I mean the most visits to the advertiser's website. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 3 creatives. I want to take out your phone, look at the 3 creatives. We'll then have a shortcode that comes up. Once that shortcode comes up, you'll have a way to vote which one you think is the best. Now the idea is that by when you're an advertiser publishes 3 creatives, what they often do is they create a focus group. That focus group is then shown the 3 different creatives. They'll look at the 3 creatives and they'll decide which one that they think is the best. Now what we attempted to do with Adalyzer is to do that at scale and without the need to create a panel or a focus group. And we do that because the response panel for Adalyzer is effectively the World Wildlife Fund's website, and we use that data set as a data set to make the decisions about which creative is working best and which creative is working not so good. So are you ready with your mobile phones? Here comes the creatives. The first one is 2 snow leopards grooming in the snow. The second one is 2 baby elephants playing in the desert. And the third one is a polar bear with their 2 cubs. Okay? So I don't want you to think about rationally, I just want to think about it emotionally and think which is the one that gets the best response. So, if you want to vote for the leopards, text WWWFA to 60777. If you want to vote for the elephants, text WWF space B. And if you want to vote for the polar bears, vote WWF, vote space C. And send your messages to 60777. It's a non-premium rate number, but type carefully. Because the next one is a premium rate number, yeah. Don't respond to the message you get back. Is everybody done? No, just once. While those votes are being counted, collated and verified, I shall quickly take you through the concepts behind Adalyzer, how it works. So for all broadcast TV advertisers, the $64,000 question is, how much of my response is generated by TV advertising? A while ago it used to be all booked on based on audience, so how do I hit my audience? But increasingly there are tools out there which allow advertisers to measure the performance or the business outcomes of their broadcast TV advertising. Now this chart up here gives a good window into an advertiser's life. So across the x-axis you've got the number of minutes, the y-axis, although you can't see it, we've got the volume of response, and the red jagged line is what we call the response signal. So every single website emits a response signal, and that is simply the number of visits that are being created across every second of the day. Now TV is a fairly unique medium in the sense that it generates a single message to a large audience at a single point of time, and the effect of that is that it disrupts the response signal. So in other words, you get these short, sharp spikes in response. Now if I was to zoom in on one of those, they would look a little bit like this. So now along the x-axis we have got seconds, up the y-axis we've got the volume of response, and the curve is what we call the response curve. So this is the signal that's being emitted by people responding to a TV advert. So in this case you've got a spot being broadcast at point 0, and you can see that between Comedy Central and Sky News there's a subtly different response signal. Now what we have is a process which is effectively mining the data. So it's looking at all the spots which are coming into Adalyzer, and it's looking at all the response that's being generated on the website. And the purpose of that is to mine and identify isolated examples of TV spots. These are spots that occur on their own. And when they occur on their own, you create a very clean response signal. Each time we find one of these spots, we capture it, we encode the data that comes after it, and categorize it by all the different aspects of your TV schedule which is generating these different response signals. And what we end up with is a dictionary of thousands of different curves that describe all the different ways that an advertiser's customers are interacting with their TV campaign. That dictionary is then used in order to match raw response to a set of observed response signals. So if you imagine a spot's just been broadcasted left of the raw signal, it's passed into the lookup engine goes back to its dictionary, finds the closest matching curve, returns that curve, and the response is then attributed based on that curve. Now, Adalyzer for a long time is basically an analytics portal, so it would be delivered to media agencies, they would log into their portal, they would look at how their campaign was performing, They would work out which channels are working well, which weren't so working so well, and they would make recommendations about changes to their schedule. But what we've been thinking about, what we've been building recently, is a more programmatic or autonomous way of interacting with that data. Now, when you talk about programmatic within the world of advertising, it's a bit of a loaded word, because it's been used so much inside digital advertising that it comes with a load of preconceptions about what programmatic means. So it's got to include things like real-time bidding, dynamic ad inventory, a load of characteristics that just are not applicable to the traditional broadcast TV environment. So things like compliance is important for TV. You can't start doing dynamic ads and stuff like that, or dynamic buying, because you've got to go through a compliance route. However, if you abstract back to what programmatic actually is, it's really effectively using data, technology, and then combining those with a set of rules to influence your media. And that's what we're effectively doing here. We're taking the data from the website and the spot data. We're using technology to define rules that determine how response is attributed back to spots. And then we're connecting directly to the broadcasters via solutions which are already in place, which is where Carrier comes in, because we can issue copy rotation instructions programmatically through Carrier. What it means is that we can create a much more dynamic view of a broadcast TV campaign. If you speak to anybody about broadcast TV, they always say it's very rigid. When you book a campaign, you've kind of got that campaign for the next 30 days. The spot laydown is more or less fixed. But what we try to do is to try to take a different view of the world. And if you view that spot laydown as not necessarily a set of adverts, but a set of empty vessels which we can pour creative into much closer to runtime, then what gives us is the opportunity to run a bit of a campaign, look at the data, and then make amendments to the copy which appears in each of the spots that are in the laydown plan. What is interesting about this is that this is just automating an existing process. So right at the start, when I was talking about looking under the covers and what's available there for us to exploit, when we did that, we found that there was a lot of software and solutions already there that was not being exploited. So on the response side, we can capture the data that's coming in from the advertiser's website. On the TV side, there's really underexploited resources like Barb and the overnight data that can come in through from broadcasters via Carrier. We then can make decisions using Adalyzer, so we can analyze the data. We can ask the users to set conditions when action should be taken. And then all that we've actually really done is build a bridge from Adalyzer to Carrier that allows us to issue copy rotation instructions autonomously, and then Carrier can then issue those directly into Sky Media's trafficking department, and those are pushed out onto the schedule. What it means is that we've got some really interesting examples of how we can create quite dynamic schedules. So if I give you a good example, we've been working recently with a charity. The charity had two creatives. One creative was asking for £5, and one charity was asking for £2. What we were able to, instinctively the charity was thinking, well, I'll put all my £5 requests on Sky Arts and all my £2 requests on MTV. But rather than do that, what we said is push out all the copies on equal rotation, analyze the data, let the data tell us what's happening, and then we could optimize the schedule based on what the actual data is saying. And that's exactly what we did. We looked at all the creatives that were going out, we looked at the response, the donations that were being pledged from the different channels, and then we were able to autonomously amend the schedule so that the creatives which were responding to the £5 appeal were on the £5 channels, and the creatives which were responding to the £2 appeal were on the £2 channels. And that all happened dynamically in campaign. That's the end of the presentation. And now we're going to see the results of the poll. So, just to hold on, Adalyzer, this is something that was live and was optimized a couple of weeks ago. There were three creatives running, the three creatives that you saw. Adalyzer analyzed the data and then worked out which was how they ranked. In third place, we had the leopard. In second place, we had the elephant. And in first place we had the polar bear. Now before you press the button, I'll get my excuses in. This is the first time we've done this, so I don't know what the results are going to be. We analysed, I think it was 83 million impacts, 26,000 spots and 250,000 visits. This is obviously a bit of a smaller sample size, so you might be wrong. But if you put all the results, would you believe it? That wasn't smoke and mirrors, that actually happened. So you said that the polar bear was the best, elephant was second, and the leopard was third. So you kind of agreed. So what I'm trying to show is that there's some intelligence behind the system which fits well with how you'd intuitively behave.